Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Say in the chat if you can hear me. I feel like, um, yeah. So if you could just say in the chat if you can hear me. It says that I have 17 people on. All right, got thumbs up. Thank you, Alicia and Hopeful Bound. Thank you so much. Great. All right, so tonight I want to just talk. I'm going to answer any of your questions. So put them in the chat or start putting them in the chat. Sometimes it goes pretty quickly. I want to, hi, I want to start with affordability. So I don't think it's being talked about enough. The fact that home prices have risen so quickly over the last year. They've gone up from an average in the United States to about 280,000 to, and I wrote it down, they're up to 350,000. So up 23%. Most salaries haven't gone up 23% over the last year. So there is an affordability crisis. Even prior to COVID, we couldn't, the inventory was low already. So now it's even compounded with people being able to move a lot of times in technical jobs wherever they want. Sometimes those are higher paying jobs than the community. So they're moving from higher priced areas to lower priced areas, and they're able to offer the sellers more than what the average person in that community can offer them. So that's, there's a lot of things compounded, and now we have an affordability crisis, and renters, landlords are taking advantage of that now. Now rent is just as high or higher than mortgages. So you're trying to get a house, but you can't afford rent. You can't afford a house. So it's kind of compounded. And I wanted to give you, I'm going to answer your question with the FICO scores as well. I want to give you some things to make sure you can still buy a house. It's just going to be much more difficult than it typically is. So you have to have cash. Like you have to have all of your down payment and all of your closing costs. If you're not sure what that amount is going to be, you need to do a pre-approval and then have the lender give you an estimate so you can see what those numbers will be ahead of time. So you will be prepared for the market. And even if you find an opportunity where you don't have to go all in, then at least you have that money. You can put it towards savings, but you have to be prepared with your down payment and closing costs, because a lot of sellers, if it's a desired property, so if a lot of people want that property and there are multiple offers, they may not consider you if you have down payment assistance. So if you don't have your down payment or closing costs, you need to start saving those up. What else I want you to do? I want you to get your credit up and your debt down. Then you're more likely to be able to qualify for conventional financing. I know it's easier in a lot of cases to qualify for an FHA loan, but again, if sellers have a choice, they're probably going to go with conventional over FHA. Let's talk about the buyer letter. I was thinking about this earlier. I want you to make sure the buyer knows you're a person, versus, because you're competing in a lot of areas with investors that are buying property. So in your buyer letter, if you say nothing else but just to humanize yourself, to let them know that you are a person and not an investor, that may give you an advantage over the other person or over the investor offer or the cash offer, because 30% of all offers are coming in cash. And a lot of times, if you're talking about, under the average value in your city, then, those offers are probably going to be cash offers that you're competing against. Be creative, move further out. Can you move in with family? Can families move in together and kind of help each other with the cost? A lot of multi-generational living where you have an older parent or grandparent that might need to move with you, and you all save money, either save money to buy the property or save money by buying the property together. And then we should all have a second income source. So if you only have one income source, you need to work hard to find a second income source. Don't just be dependent on that first income source. I know a lot of people may be single parents, or you don't have a second job, there's so many opportunities, of course, on YouTube to show you how to make additional income or have a side business or a side hustle. You probably need to start working on that. So I just wanted to say that I really want to speak to anybody who's maybe coming across this affordability crisis in their city, and I can try to answer any of your questions. So I'm going to go to the questions. I think some of you already put your questions in. So I'm going to scroll back up. All right. So hi from Valdosta. If people don't know, people follow me, I'm in Georgia. I'm in Metro Atlanta, but so a lot of people don't know that I'm in Atlanta. All righty. Let's see who I can ask or who I can answer. So put the questions in. I'm looking at them now. The first question is, can you get a mortgage with 2 FICO scores? I'm not sure, honestly, but I would think so. If they're only pulling up 2, I don't know how they figure out what score they're going to use. But I would think if that's the only scores you have, then they probably will be able to still qualify you on the scores that are available. They may count that third score, and I'm just guessing, they may count that third score as 0. And then so you have that would be your lowest score. 1 score will be your highest, and then they'll take the second as your middle score. But the best thing for you to do, Shin Zin, is to ask a lender. So ask your lender how they're going to look at those scores. But I would guess, just based on my experience, that they would use those 2 scores. All righty, new questions. Is it best to go new construction? This is Miss Stanley. If you can find new construction in your area, I did a video on new construction, some of the things you can look out for. Yeah, so new construction is having inventory issues as well. And in order to deal with those inventory issues, a lot of them are not pricing their properties until they started like framing, because they may go up in their price, and they some of them cancel your contract and give you a new contract at the higher price. So if you're tired, you can't find a resale property, you can go new construction, but you may find that new construction is more expensive, and you may find that new construction there are waiting lists for the new construction homes as well. So definitely look for that in your city. I would definitely use a real estate agent. Do not go to new construction properties on your own, because you want to have somebody there that understands the contracts, that has a legal team behind them. A lot of realtors, because they're part of a big brokerage and they use a lot of the closing attorneys, they can ask closing attorneys for free a lot of questions, or have them review things for you. And if you have any issues that come up, they're able to work those things out for you. So I would definitely, if you have new construction opportunities, I would definitely take advantage of it. But I would also make sure you go with a real estate agent. Okay. Also, thank you everybody for 70,000. The reason why I'm doing this live today is because I reached 70,000 subscribers on my channel. And that's just because of all of you watching my videos, sharing my videos, and I really appreciate it. All right, next question. Yes, affordability is disheartening, but I don't want it to stop you from being a home buyer, because home buying, the difference in wealth between home buyers and renters is huge, and you really need to just stay focused and become a home buyer. If it's not right now, it should be a goal that you're going to do in the very, very near future. All right, I've been in my home for 1 year. How can I check if I can refinance to a lower rate? Call your mortgage company and see what you need to do. You can refinance very shortly after, but I don't know if your rate would be lower. So again, the same way you kind of look for a mortgage, you want to contact 3 different lenders for them to give you refinance quotes, and then see what it looks like for you to refinance that mortgage. But pretty much you can refinance a mortgage as soon as you pretty much close and that deed is recorded. You're able to refinance, but it only makes sense to refinance if you're going to get a lower rate, and you'll be able to make up the difference in about 3 years. So because you're going to have fees, closing costs, and that sort of thing with the refinance. So you want to be able to make up that money with the lower interest rate and the lower payment in about 3 years or so. But yeah, I would get 3 quotes with 3 lenders for your refinance. All righty. I've done 3 appointments with a counselor. My question is how long? I don't understand your question, Amanda Deep. Please redo it. I don't know if you're talking about possibly NACA, because NACA has counselors. So re-type your question so I can see it. And we know the investors, yes. So investors are buying up the market, and they're buying up the market where they can make money. So they're not buying, very expensive luxury properties. They're buying the properties that most first-time home buyers want, because they have to have enough money to make money on the rental side. So if they buy and they're renting it out, they have to have enough money to be making money on the rental side. And that is like the same price of home that most first-time home buyers are looking for. So you're up against competition with those investors right now. And I promise you, they're out there. One of the listing agents at my brokerage, they were saying all they got was investor offers. They had 5 offers and they were all from investors, no buyer offers. So I don't know. I want you to still be out in the market, because I think a lot of people got tired of it and they, said, I'll wait for the fall, I'll wait till later. And now the investors are coming out in mass, and then there's no buyer offers. And sometimes sellers want to sell to other people. They don't want to sell to investors. So you still can have an opportunity to get your offer accepted, with by a seller, just because you're a buyer and not an investor. So you just have to be out there in the market. All right. Judah and Janaria. Okay. I think I said that right. I have a listing, and I have had over market price offers from investors buying out the communities used for rental. Yes. So you're proof that is happening. House is worth $350 and they're offering $380. Yes, that is happening. And the thing is with sellers, if you can't have the opportunity to make $30,000 more than maybe what a buyer would offer you, you probably would go ahead and take that $380,000, and probably it's going to be cash. It's probably going to be something that can close quickly. So that's what, buyers you're up against, these investors that are not only offering cash offers, but they're offering above the list price significantly. And they're also no appraisal. When you're doing cash, most of them don't do an appraisal. They might do an inspection, but they're not like nitpicky during the inspection. It's usually major things. So you have to be able to compete with them. You have to be able to compete with those investor offers. All right. Okay, Deep, you're asking a lot of questions and I still don't understand, but I'm gonna try to answer one of them. It says I have 2 years bank statements, pay stubs. Bank statements, you probably only need 60 days. You don't need 2 years of bank statements. And pay stubs, probably another 30 days. Typically it's 60 days of bank statements and 30 days of pay stubs. I hope that answered your question. Hi, thank you, Israel 2010. Great to see you as well. 680 credit score, qualify for conventional. Okay, so conventional gets a little bit tricky, because even though out there they'll say, oh, you have to have at least this credit score and at least this debt to income ratio, a lot of lenders have their own requirements on top of the basic requirements. So you really have to definitely quote with 3 different people. And it really depends on your debt to income ratio as well. It's not just credit score, it's debt to income ratio. And then is your body of credit. So what if your credit score is where it needs to be, but they see there's a 60-day late on your credit? Then they may say you don't qualify for conventional. So that's what they mean by the body of credit. So it's not just black and white with conventional. So I would definitely quote with 3 different people, because I would say 680 you could qualify, but I don't know what your debt to income ratio is, and I don't know what your body of credit is. And then depending on what lender you go to, they may all have different requirements. So Gabby, I would say get pre-qualified with at least 3 lenders so you can see. Now if everybody's telling you you don't qualify for conventional, then you don't qualify for conventional. But I would ask them, why don't you qualify for conventional? So if there are some things you can be working on, you can start working on those things. What's the lowest score a person can have to get a conventional loan? Again, kind of the same answer. It's going to vary. So I would say a lot of them are going to be in at least the mid to lows. I would say low to mid 600s that I've been seeing. but it all depends on the lender. Rochelle, let me see what she's saying. When I initially started the process, my lender tried to qualify me with an FHA loan. I can qualify with conventional. I just don't have the 20% down payment. Can I still do a conventional loan and use down payment assistance? Sorry, sorry, it's my phone. A lot of down payment assistance programs are, generally speaking, FHA, but it all depends on what program you're using. You can ask the program administrator, what is the assistance? Is it for FHA or is it for conventional? So that's one thing that you need to do. FHA loans, that's a myth that conventional loans are 20% down. They're not all 20% down. The lowest conventional loans are 0% down. There are a lot of banks, and I have that on my down payment assistance video, like the best down payment assistance, my latest one. You can get a conventional loan that is 100% financing. You also can get a conventional loan that's 3% down, but they all have different qualifications. So you don't need to put a 20% down payment to get conventional, unless that's the only way you qualify for conventional is with a larger down payment. So when you're talking to your lender, you want to make sure is the only way you qualify for conventional is 20% down, and why is that? So you want to ask some follow-up questions, because they have, again, 100% financing conventional loans. They have 3% down conventional, 5%, 10%, so you have a lot of options that come with conventional. FHA is not just the lowest cost down payment. Conventional, you have 100% financing, so that's 0%, zero down. And they also have a 3% home ready or home possible. So home ready, home possible are both 3% down conventional loans. Thank you. Can you get approved for a mortgage loan with no past rental history for the last 5 years? Yes. So say you've been living with family or something like that, they'll just ask probably for a letter of explanation asking where have you lived for the last couple of years. But yeah, definitely you can get a loan with no rental history or zero rental history. And as long as the rental history is not negative, right? So you haven't gotten evicted or something like that recently. I'm in Florida. Do you work with the NACA program? I have NACA videos. I don't work with NACA directly, but you have to go to a NACA webinar and then you go through the process. But the first step, if you're interested in NACA, is to go to a NACA webinar to know how to get started. Impress, I was told when you had annual tax on your property tax, you can get it back. Sorry. I was told, let me slow down. I was told that when you pay annual tax on your property, you can get it back when you do your taxes. I'm not sure. I don't get my taxes back when I do my taxes. You can sometimes use it as a deduction, your taxes, but to get it back, no. So I would check with your accountant, but I don't get mine back. Ashley, thank you. Let's see. She says, my fiance and I just got our offer accepted. Yay! Ashley, put what you did to get your offer accepted, because I'm sure everybody wants to know. But she says, I just got our offer accepted on a home on Monday, doing our inspections now, but so excited to go through the process. Congratulations, Ashley. But yeah, tell them if you did anything fancy to get your offer accepted. All right, Miss J, when should a person apply for down payment assistance, and does the lender suggest those programs? Good question. Okay, so down payment assistance, it can go either way, okay? So if you go to the lender first, then you tell them, I want to use down payment assistance. They may have programs that they're affiliated with, and then they may put you in those programs. The other way is, if you know of a program that you want to use, most programs go through preferred lenders. So then if you go to the program first, you have to find what lenders that they've approved for that program. So probably I would suggest you do both. You go through, I want you, number one, to probably find an agent that's familiar with down payment assistance in your area. So that's number one. You want somebody that uses them, has used them in the past, and know how they work. And then I want you to say, okay, let me do my research. What programs do I qualify for? So you're going to have, you're doing the research, then your agent is doing the research, and then the lender, because sometimes in order to get the assistance, you have to go through a lender that's affiliated with that program. So if there's a program you want to use, but then the lender doesn't use that program, you can't use that lender. So you're going to have to kind of work all the angles to find out which program is best for you. Are tax properties still a thing for discount purchases, especially in high price areas in California? I guess you're talking about tax liens. So if you buy a tax, it probably is still a thing, but a lot of times you have to wait for that person to not pay their taxes over a longer period of time and then foreclose on them to get that property. So it might be an option, but you really need to do your research about how that works and how you would be able to acquire the property if they don't pay their taxes. Hi, Linda. How you doing? Good to see you. All right, let me see. Ashley, we didn't waive inspections. She's telling y'all how she got her offer accepted. She said, we didn't waive inspections. Good. Offered $20K over the listing price and allowed the homeowners to stay in the home an extra 12 days. That's how we won. You have to get creative, and you have to find a realtor that knows how to get creative without, with getting creative without you losing some of your protections. I would say that. So you want somebody who's creative, but they are still protecting you. They want you to win, but they're not willing to give everything for you to win. They still want to make sure you are protected. And that sounds like what happened here. Now, those 12 days, that's a temporary occupancy. You just want to make sure maybe you hold some money back at closing, or, there's already going to be a temporary occupancy agreement that they leave the house in good condition when they leave. So just make sure you have all of those things, but that's not unusual in this market to get your offer accepted. So congratulations. Do you have a high income and still get buyer assistance? You can. So there are usually income limits. The only program I don't think has income limits is Chenoa. So something called Chenoa. Let me try to spell it out. Chenoa. Okay, CHENOA. That's the only down payment assistance program that I'm aware of that doesn't have an income cap. But most of them do have income caps. So you want to see, okay, if you're interested in the program, because they're usually for low to moderate income individuals, and it goes by income and usually household size. So you want to be able to look at the program and see, do you make more than what the program allows? All right, let me go back up. Sorry. I feel like a lot of people I skipped. It kind of scrolled down. I was back on Ashley, and then I got to Miss J. Okay, got that. Hi from Los Angeles. Where every house, okay, I could click on the thing. They'll be easier. Hello from Los Angeles, where every house is selling 100K, upwards of 200 over list price. Would you recommend waiting out the bid process here in LA until the market cools down? I mean, you may have to, because who can you afford to pay 100,000, 200,000 over the list price? So sometimes it may not be what you want to do. A lot of people in this market have to wait it out or have to do something differently. A lot of people are leaving California for lower cost states. I would think about that as well if that's an option for you. But yes, I would probably wait if you have to, because that's a big difference, especially if they're doing that above appraised value. So you have to kind of think what's in your best interest financially, and that's something that you're able even to do. I don't know how to get it. Now I got it. All right. I recently got my counseling session with NACA. I want to build my own land, but I was only approved for 111. I don't know what to do with 111. Hopeful bound. I don't know what state you're in, but if you move far out, there's some places in Georgia for cheap, like in Macon. But you have to kind of work within that boundary, or you have to increase your income or lower your debt to get a higher amount, unfortunately. All right, new construction question. On closing, when doing a final walkthrough, any tips what I should be looking at that might get commonly overlooked by home buyers or just in general? Look at everything. If you can go prior, okay, this is the thing, new construction walkthroughs. Okay, you're gonna have two, more than likely. You're gonna have a first walkthrough and a final walkthrough. So if you can go, so say the first walkthrough has been scheduled with the builder for you to look at everything. Number one, I want you to get a home inspection. I want you to get a home inspection, even with new construction, because they will be looking at things that you wouldn't look at. So I want you to get a home inspection. Also, I want you to go about a week prior, maybe a couple of days prior to the first walkthrough by yourself or with your family or something, so everybody can look at everything in the house. So you want to really look at everything. You want to make sure you're turning on all the major systems, the water, the plumbing, you're turning on the lights. You want to look at all the windows, make sure there's no cracks in the windows, because there's a lot of things in that walkthrough that if you don't say it at the walkthrough, they don't cover it anymore. Landscaping, they don't cover, broken glass, broken countertops. Those things are not covered under warranty. So you want to make sure the typical walkthrough might take about an hour, hour and a half, and they're kind of going through each room and maybe rushing you a little bit. So you want to try to, number one, get a home inspection because you'll have that report. And then number two, try to go a couple of days prior to the first walkthrough so you can look at it yourself to see, okay, let me make sure I'm looking at everything clearly to make sure I'm not going to miss anything. But definitely anything broken glass, look at your countertops really good, look at your flooring really good. And again, get that inspection. All righty. What else? All right, Ashley. Investors shouldn't be allowed to buy. We're in a capitalist society for the most part. So it's kind of fair game where they can't stop people from buying. Because one day you might be an investor yourself and be buying property and they'll say, this is not available for investors. So I don't think they should do that. But anything that you can do to humanize yourself as a buyer over an investor, I would do. All right, 203K loans. Y'all know my drama with 203. Please watch both of my 203K videos. Is low and a lot of competition, investors in auction. Do you think foreclosed homes I should focus on? Let's talk about foreclosures real quick. That was a question earlier. Talk about foreclosures. Okay, so what happens when somebody forecloses? So when a bank forecloses on a property, usually what they'll do is, number one, they have to list it that it's going to be foreclosed in like the local paper. Usually they do something, they list it for a couple of weeks. So everybody's aware of it. And then it's sold at auction typically after it forecloses. It's sold at auction at like on the courthouse steps of your local city. So it's sold at auction and typically they want cash buyers at that point. You can check and see how it works in your county. But a lot of times it's going to cash bidders during the auction. Okay. If they don't sell it at that auction, more than likely they list it with a real estate broker. So it'll be listed the same way other properties are listed out on the MLS system, and you'll see it that way. So either you're going to buy it during the auction point, or you're going to buy it after it's listed. And when it's listed, depending on the condition, sometimes the broker or the lender will fix it up a little bit before they list it. Sometimes they list it as is. So you have to just see if that's the market you want to be in. Are you able to buy cash during the auction? Or are you able to buy after it's listed? Are you able to buy it then? So you just have to see, which one you're going to do. But when you're buying it after it's listed, then it's just like you're buying any other home. It's just maybe a little bit undervalued because it's a foreclosure. But usually right now, you're still going to be competing against investors and other people that want to get a good deal. And lastly, if you're doing an FHA loan, particularly, and it's not in good condition, you won't get that. It won't qualify for FHA financing if it's not in a decent, livable condition. All righty. All right, what's the credit score you can get a mortgage or conventional FHA? Again, if you say you Google minimum credit score FHA, minimum credit score conventional, you'll probably see for FHA 580. But can you find a lender that's lending at 580? That makes sense. So you have to make sure, I would say you have to have I tell people I want you to have at least a 640 getting in there, because the lower your credit score, if you find a lender that's willing to lend to you, you're going to have a higher interest rate and higher fees. So try to get your credit score up. But a lot of times they'll say 580, but when you actually do your application, that sort of thing, they want in the 600. So even though they have that's why I don't want to quote minimums, because it really depends on the lender and who's, what lender you're using as to what credit score they'll accept. All right, let me see who else I can look at. All right, Patrick, I see your face. Good to see you. Just bought a house on 15 acres outside of Nashville and moved in with $15,000 in equity. Excellent. I thank your instruction for helping me make the jump. I'm very proud of you. That sounds beautiful. 15 acres. I'm sure there's a lot that you can do with that. Congratulations. All righty. Let's see what else. Going down. From Florida. So realtor, thank you for your videos. Thank you and congratulations. No appraisal contingencies. Great. So okay, that's good. If you are able to bid over and it doesn't appraise, then you can renegotiate that contract back to the appraisal value. So that's good. Okay, it says, would I get the best rates finding a professional to find a lender, or would I get the best rate looking on my own? Do I have the power to negotiate that rate on my own? Yes, you have the power to negotiate rates. It's better if you're negotiating from because you're getting multiple rates. A lot of times the lender will match the other lender's rate. So you want to make sure you're getting multiple quotes. I would say realtor first, have the realtor recommend some lenders to you and then quote it that way. I think that's the easiest way to do it. But I've had a client that did 6 applications before they found the best rate. What are the top lenders you get approved from? It really varies. I don't have a top lender list, depending on where you are in your state. If you want to go to a place like bankrate.com, that'll have all the lenders and all their rates. That'll help you get an idea. But some lenders are regional, so they may not serve the entire United States. So you really want to look for in your area. Bankrate is a good place to start, bankrate.com, because they'll list the lenders and the interest rates. All right. I think some people do NACA in California. If you go to the NACA videos that I've done and you read the comments, you can probably see where most people are doing it. I have school loans that are in non-repayment. Will that affect? A lot of people right now are in non-repayment because of forbearance. So your student loans, regardless of the repayment status, are going to count toward your DTI ratio. So just be mindful of that. Just because you're not paying on them doesn't mean that they don't count. So for FHA loans, if you're doing FHA, they will do 0.5% of your student loan balance if you're not in repayment. If you're in repayment, and as long as your payment, whether it's income-based or whatever, is above $1, they'll count that payment. So that's for FHA. Conventional, they'll usually use your payment. And if you're not in repayment, then they'll use 1% or 0.5%. So it might make sense for you to go into repayment if that amount is going to be less than the percentage. But your lender can tell you which one would work best for you. And you usually can get back on repayment or back in forbearance relatively quickly. So you just have to see what makes the most sense. Can you qualify for a home if you have an eviction? Yes, you can qualify for a home if you have an eviction. It really depends on how long ago the eviction was, because the eviction might be on there and it dropped your credit dramatically and then you don't qualify. So it really depends on how long ago the eviction was. But the best thing you can do is get pre-approved and see if you're able to get it with the eviction still on there. But if it's like you got evicted yesterday, probably not. Let's see. I don't want to quote wrong because I always forget chapter 7 and chapter 11, I guess. But I have a bankruptcy video. I have a bankruptcy and foreclosure video. Like, how can you buy? How long do you have to wait after foreclosure and after bankruptcy? One of them is 2 years. So watch that video. I have a handout and it tells you how long you have to wait after chapter 7. How strict are VA appraisers? They're stricter than conventional and FHA. They are really going to make sure the value is there. However, I mean, sometimes they appraise with no problem, but there's a belief in the marketplace that VA appraisers are much more strict with realtors. That's why sometimes sellers do not want to accept VA loans and FHA loans for that matter. But I would still go out there. Sometimes the appraisals work well with VA as well. So I wouldn't worry about it, but they are more strict in general than conventional. All righty. Thank you guys for giving me congratulations. I appreciate that. What is the best way to boost credit? So the best way to boost credit, if you already have credit, you want to get your credit, you want to get your balances. Okay, so your credit balances, you want to get them under 50%, and then under 30%, and then under 10%. Okay, so if you have $10,000 in credit card, available credit, $10,000, right? Or $10,000 owed. You want to try to get that down to 50% of the balance, and then 30% of the balance, and 10%. Hope I explained that right. But you don't want to have, your available credit where you're 90%, you've charged 90% of your available credit. So if your available credit is, let me say that again, not your charged up, but if your available credit on all your credit cards is $10,000, then you want to make sure that if you want the jumps in your credit, you want to go under 50%, so that'd be $5,000. You want to go under 30%, and then you want to go under 10%. That's when you'll get the biggest jumps. You want to go to CreditWise. I like CreditWise because it gives you a simulator where you can see if you pay off certain things. It will tell you how much that will help or hurt your credit. Of course, pay things off on time. Pay your bills on time. The 65% of your credit score is credit utilization and payment history. Okay, so by paying your debt down, it's going to increase your credit. And then by paying your bills on time, it's also going to help your credit. If you've already had some late payments, you need to try to get those off your credit report, either by disputing them or by goodwill deletion. I have a whole video about how to get an 800 credit score, and I talk about in detail what you need to do to boost your credit. I'll probably do another credit video, but the thing you can do the quickest and the easiest is pay down your debt and try to do it strategically. And if you can try to increase, like call all your credit cards to try to get an increase. If you can get the increase, then you don't have to pay as much off. So try to get increases on all of your cards, and then try to pay it off to 50%, 30%, and 10%. And then definitely try to pay your bills pay your bills on time all the time. And then when you pay your bills on time all the time, if you had a late payment recently, try to get those off of your credit report. And I have ways to do that on that credit video. If you're trying to establish credit, yes, get a secured card. Question, is it smart to tie the cost of home repairs into the mortgage or take a HELOC? Do you recommend extended home warranty? It all depends on what the home, when I am representing a buyer, especially a first-time buyer, I try to definitely get them a home warranty. So little things they can get taken care of. But a lot of times the home warranty is not going to cover major expenses or major repairs. It really depends on the warranty. And it says, is it smart to cost the home repairs in a mortgage or take out the HELOC? It really depends on what the repairs are and what the house is worth, because you don't want to have so many repairs and things done in your home equity loan where you're making two payments. You're making the mortgage payment and then you're paying for the repairs. So it really depends on how much equity is in your house, what your income is, to see if that makes sense for you specifically. All righty, let me see what else. When you take equity out of your home, does it start the mortgage contract over? If you do a cash out refinance, yes. If you do a home equity loan, then you're making a separate payment, separate from your original mortgage. So hope that makes sense. I recently closed one of my credit cards and my credit score dropped 34 points. I'm so upset. I didn't know it would affect me negatively. How do I get my credit score back? Okay. Is it 15%? Don't quote me on this, either 15% or 10% of your credit is credit linked. I think it's 15%. 15% is credit linked. So when you're talking about credit linked, if you've had a credit card for if you had it for 10 years and you close that account, that automatically takes away that 10 years. And say your other credit card was only for 2 years. Now your credit card length went to like 2 years. Instead of, they do the average of all your cards to give you the length. So when you close that account, it took away that length from you. So it did drop your credit account. The only way I think right now for you to increase your length is maybe to get added to somebody else's credit card that's had credit for a long time. However, I don't, as long as you keep on paying your bills on time, you're paying off debt, don't close the account. You want to pay it off, but don't close it. So you still have that link there. You want to, leave it. Over time, your credit will get back to where it needs to be. I've closed an account before and it might have dropped a little bit, but then it was able to rebound over time. All right, y'all have a lot of questions. Can you get new construction with USDA? Yes. I have 3 USDA videos, watch those. But yes, you can get new construction with USDA. Lachey, is it better to go with a major bank or a credit union? Depends on who's giving you the best rate. That's why you have to do multiple quotes. Never, if y'all don't listen to anything else Shahida Hill says, never just go with one lender quote. Never. So if you want to know who's better, you got to quote with both. And if you don't even want to quote with them, you can ask them, what is your rate? Lenders get daily rate sheets. You can find out their rates. You can find out their fees if the lender is, communicating well with you. A lot of them want you to do an application before they give you that information, but definitely get several quotes. Then you'll know which one is better, because I can't just say, a credit union's better. Credit unions are usually slower. And banks are usually slower to get loans approved. And in this market, that's not good. If they need 45 days and you need 30 days to make your offer more appealing, then they don't, normally work that well. But you might be able to get a lower interest rate. So you kind of have to just see what is out there. Like, how quickly can you close? I have a video on how to pick the best lender. Watch that video. All righty. Okay, Georgia Dream assistance list approved lenders, but doesn't look okay. If they're a Georgia Dream approved lender, then they will do VA, USDA, conventional, or FHA. So if they're approved, just tell them you want. It just gets a little bit tricky because Georgia, and this is specific to Georgia, so I'm not gonna spend that much time, but Georgia Dream, for that down payment assistance program, they say they do USDA, VA, but then the rules kind of change. So if you want to do USDA or VA, ask the lender, how can you do that in Georgia Dream? And they'll tell you. Hi from New Braunfels, Texas. Hi, Kendra. All righty. Dorothea, she's bought a house 9 months. Yay, Dorothea. I have my home for about 9 months. Can I go to my lender to apply for PMI to be removed? I purchased for a 300 conventional loan. Now home's in my area. Okay. Yes and no. So yes, you can. Once you have 20% equity in your house, which it sounds like you do, you can ask for your PMI to be removed if you have conventional. However, some lenders make you wait at least 2 years or have a certain amount of payments. So you want to call the lender and say, I think I have 20% equity in my home now. How can I get my PMI removed? And they're going to tell you specifically what you need to do to get that removed. You're going to have to get an appraisal, and usually you have to pay for that appraisal to get it removed. And they may make it contingent on you having the loan for a certain amount of time. But I would call them now so you know exactly what you need to do to get those wheels going. When I had conventional loan, I was able to get rid of it within 3 years. But I think a lot of my clients and other people are saying that their lenders are telling them they need 24 on-time payments, even if they have the 20%. So I don't know if it varies by lender. So I want you to ask your lender, tell them you think you have 20% equity. How can you get your PMI removed? Okay. Yes. I already answered that USDA question, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, Miss J says, when I look at rates on Bankrate, it shows rate, APR, and the fees and the estimated payment. What are the fees and estimated payment? The fees are typically what the lender is going to charge you for that loan. And then the estimated payment is that interest rate with the whatever price you put in there, I guess. They're going to give you an estimated payment because sometimes you have to pay a little bit extra to get that interest rate. So they're showing you like the points that you may have to pay to get that rate. I hope that makes sense. But again, you would have to do an approval to see what your rate specifically will be based on your credit and your DTI ratio. All right, Teresa, I want to find a job making more money. I've been on my job for 5 years. Will they frown upon the length on my new job? Trying to buy, okay. No, if you go from one job to another job and you didn't have a break in between and they're similar, don't worry about it. You'll still be able to be approved. But if you go from like you were an architect making $100,000 a year and then you decided to do Uber, that's going to be a problem. And if it's like stability to stability, let me give you like a teacher. If you go from a teacher to a dentist, I don't know, like, that kind of job, you've only been a dentist for a year, you'll probably get approved. They want to see stability in income, stability in employment. So if you're going from one stable occupation to another stable occupation, W-2 to W-2 is probably going to be fine. But if you're going from like something, that was stable to something that's like you go from, you were a teacher, now you're a truck driver and you've been driving trucks for 3 months. That might be a red flag where they want you to drive those trucks for a little while longer to see if that's something you're going to continue to do. So they want to see employment stability more than they want to see like the same job or the length of time. But you should be able to still be approved, even if, as long as there's no break in it, it's like similar income or more income, and they deem it to be stable. And that could vary, but definitely if you go from like W-2 to 1099, you start your own business, that's like, you're gonna have to wait another 2 years with that new business. But if you go from like, teacher to principal, no problem, because it's stability to stability. That's how they look at it. Okay, how can I buy a house on Section 8 disabled and I don't know what DV fleeing, I have no idea. I'm trying to think about it. No, I don't know. All right. So, and I've answered this question before, I think in one of my videos. I've definitely answered the Social Security disability. It's all about income. There's no, other than down payment assistance, there's no like program that's going to give somebody a house for, other than Habitat for Humanity. And that's like a nonprofit where they're giving you the house and there's a long application process and they're going to give you the house based on your income only. There's no like people just giving people houses, right? So you have to be able to still be approved for that amount. So if your disability income, Section 8 is not income. So if your disability income is enough to qualify for a mortgage, then yes, you can get it. At one time, they did have a Section 8 program that helped people go from Section 8 to housing. I believe, at least in Georgia, they've discontinued that program. So if you're on Section 8, you need to go to your housing authority and ask them, do you have a program that helps people buy a house? Go from Section 8 to buy a house. If they have that program, you need to enroll in that program and figure out how that works. But you need to have income to buy a house. And then, you could still qualify for down payment assistance, but people are not going to give you a mortgage if they don't feel that you can afford that payment. And I did a video of, can you buy a house on Social Security? And I stand behind that video. Usually disability income and Social Security income, if that's all you have, is usually too low to buy a house unless you're in a very low cost state. You're going to need some other kind of income in order to afford a house. Question, is it smart to tie the cost of, I already answered that question. Okay. Tania, I'm trying to get another question. What should I answer? Okay, so anybody asking about bankruptcy, I really want you to watch it's a really short video. It's probably like 3 minutes. It goes, can you buy a house after bankruptcy and after foreclosure? The answer is yes, but the time you have to wait varies by what you did. Like foreclosure is 3 years. Bankruptcy is 2 years, and it depends on what type of bankruptcy it is. So I want you to watch that video, and there's a handout with that video. All right. Great goodies. Thank you. Thank you for loving my channel. Okay, so Lachey said it's a family self-sufficiency program. So if you're on Section 8, you need to look up the family self-sufficiency program, and they may have that. And the housing authority will pay a portion of your mortgage. But if in Atlanta, I've checked, they don't have it anymore. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, yes, please hit the like button. Thank you. Who said that? SDN. Thank you for, because I forget to say that on all my videos sometimes. If you don't mind, please hit the like button. And I'm going to try to answer as many questions as possible. Bradley, Bonaire, Georgia, your videos helped me purchase my first home in July 28th. That's very recent. Congratulations, Bradley. So excited for you. And thank you for sharing that. All right, Sandra, let me try to get this question. I'm 62. See, it's never too old to buy a house. Never too old to buy a house. I'm 62, married, filing jointly. My credit score is good. My husband's is not. I know. I was in one of those situations. If you ever watch my video, and I'm going to tell you the videos to watch, but I have a video buying a house when married, and I kind of go over my situation. All right, we are both still working. Good. And I plan to continue for the next 4 years. Can I purchase a home by myself? Good question. If you have enough money. So if you have enough money to qualify by yourself, your husband doesn't matter. Like just because you're married doesn't mean that that person has to be on the mortgage with you. Okay, let's make that clear. So any individual can purchase a home even if they're married. Okay. Now, what most of my married clients do that only one person is on the mortgage, they put the other person on the deed, because if something happens to you, God forbid, then they will automatically have that house. The house would automatically be theirs because they'll be on the deed as long as you're joint tenants with rights of survivorship. They will automatically get the house. Now, so if you can qualify on your income, like you don't need his income. If you can qualify on your income, then he does not need to be on the mortgage. What he can do is he can give you money for the down payment as a gift fund. He could, give you money that way. That's how he could be involved in, like, if you need extra money on hand. But you could be on the mortgage by yourself, or y'all can spend the next year trying to get his credit together. And then if you need his income, you can spend the next year trying to get his credit together so he can qualify as well. That's probably the route that I would go, but go ahead and try to get qualified by yourself. And then, if that's enough, if you can qualify with your income and you don't need his income, you just do that. You add him to the deed at closing, and that's a done deal. But if not, if you need his income to qualify for the type of house that you want, then you're going to try to work to get his credit up, so he can qualify as well. Okay. So I hope that was helpful, Sandra. All righty. Okay. I'm in the process of, this is Original Black Barbie. I'm in the process of purchasing FHA. Down the road, can I refinance for conventional? Yes, you can. Once I reach 20% equity, can it be removed? Yes, yes, and yes. So you can refinance, let me say this, as long as you qualify for conventional, right? So if you only qualify for FHA now, you would have to qualify for conventional when you refinance. So when you refinance, if you qualify for conventional, yes, you can do it. You don't have to wait till you have 20% equity either. You can refinance before then to a conventional loan. So yes, and then once you have 20% equity, you don't have to pay the PMI. All righty, let's see. Hi, Kamal. How are you doing? Good to see you on here. All right, let me see. All right. Hola. Hi, LA. I'm in the process of buying a house in New York. We gave $10,000 already. The house needs a lot of repair. The seller does not want to do the repairs, and we want to cancel the contract. What can I do? Okay. It depends if you're still in your due diligence period. Okay. If you put 10,000 up for earnest money, then you might be out of that earnest money if your contingency has now expired. You need to ask your agent, like y'all need to be pulling up that contract and looking at it saying, okay, how can I get out of this contract? So that would be my advice to you, is work with your agent, tell her that there's too many repairs. How can I get out of this contract and get my $10,000 back? Without knowing your contract or seeing it, I don't know what's in there and what the dates are, but you need to look at your contract, work with your realtor to get out of the contract and hopefully get your $10,000 back. I do have a video about how to terminate a contract that might help you, but without seeing what's written in your contract, it's hard for me to advise you on that. And New York is a whole nother, thing as far as, closing attorneys and all of that. So my number one advice, get with your realtor now so you can, because time is of the essence. And the longer you wait, the less opportunity you're going to have to probably terminate. So you want to go through it now and find out what you need to get out of that contract. All righty. How long after you buy how long can you buy a second house after buying a house? The next day, if you can qualify. If you can qualify, you can buy 3 houses in one day. It doesn't really matter. So it just depends on what your income is. Do you have the money? Do you have the down payment? Do you have the closing costs? Do you qualify? But there's no time limit in between purchasing homes. If you want to buy a house every day and you have the money, you can buy one. But okay, now let me say this. You can't have like 2 FHA loans at the same time, because FHA loans are meant for owner occupants. Well, you can and you can't. Let me try it. Okay. So if you got an FHA loan and then next week you try to get another FHA loan, they're probably going to deny that FHA loan. You can do FHA and conventional, but FHA is meant for owner occupants. Now, if you get an FHA loan and then you move to a different area and you rent out your house, the first house you have, and you say you're moving for work or you're moving for a larger home, then you can possibly have 2 FHA loans, because that first one you had to rent it out because you moved, and then the second one you're owner occupying the second one. So you can do that as long as you lived in the first one for a year. What do I think about Bank of America's $17,000 assistance to purchase a home? If you can get it, Bank of America, that's all I can say. If you can get it, it's a good program. If you can get it, that's what I'm going to say. So if you can qualify for it and you meet all the criteria and it doesn't take 60 days for you to close on your house, then go for it. Because sometimes down payment assistance programs work best in a balanced or buyer's market. They're not working in the seller's market. If Bank of America needs 60 days to close on that $17,500, you're probably not going to get the house, because a seller is looking for you to close quickly in a lot of cases. So I would say if you can get it and if it makes sense, yes. But I think a lot of people the money sounds good, but when you're trying in this market, it may not be as easy to navigate. Now, if somebody's gotten a 17.5 from Bank of America, please put it in the comments and let me know how it worked. All righty. When you go and find these different lenders for the best possible rate, does it affect your credit score adding inquiries to your report? Yes, but only one time. If you do it right, you do all the applications within, let's say 14 days. Some people say 14 days, some people say 30. So be on the safe side. You want to do all the applications within a 30-day window. And it only hits your credit once, because the credit scoring system leaves room for you to quote, like to shop rates, even with car loans. If you do multiple car loans within like a 2-week period, it only is going to impact your credit once. Same thing with home loans. If you're doing mortgage loans and you do them over a 14-day period, they know, like the the algorithm knows that you're shopping for a house, and it should only impact your credit once. Okay. So, and the higher your credit score is, the lower impact it's going to have. Let me say that again. The higher your credit score is, the lower impact it's going to have. But you want to make sure, so it will hurt your credit, but not like 3 different times or 4 different times. It should only impact it once. But if you do one in August and do another one in October, yes, that's going to be 2 separate hard credit pulls. But again, I've had a client that did 6, and I think he's on one of these videos, like my client videos. He did 6, and he said his credit score went down 20 points. And he did it over like a 2-month period. And he said his credit was already in the 700s, but it went down about 20 points. But he said it was worth it because in doing that, he was able to find the best rate and the best terms as well. Not just the best rate, but the best closing costs and the best fees as well. Okay. Beauty Shans, is there a way that you can put a contingency that if you get outbid, you will add an amount to the purchase price? Yeah, so you would add a stipulation that basically, it's called an escalation clause. It says if you will pay blank over the next highest offer received with proof of that offer. So if they show that offer to you and that contract, you're willing to go above $1,000 above or whatever that other contract. So yes, you can do that as a special stipulation. I'll make sure I didn't miss any questions up here. Thank you, Coco Lovely. I appreciate you watching. Do you think the housing market will continue to rise, make it even harder for first-time buyers in the future? Good question. I think as long as interest rates are low and inventory stays low. Now, I would say in Atlanta, it's getting a little bit better. Like people are getting their FHA loans accepted in Atlanta, but it may be more than they did in May or June. But we're all going back to school. My kids, praise the Lord, my kids have gone back to school this week. They started school on Wednesday. And a lot of people, like, real estate kind of slows down when school starts because people were rushing to try to get into that school system before school starts. Now you have people like, okay, I'm just going to stay where I am until December or till next summer or whatever. A lot of people do things on that school schedule. So there's now where sellers were getting like 20 offers, now they're getting 7 or 5, so it's not as much of a frenzy in Atlanta. In some areas of Atlanta, it's not as much of a frenzy, but it's still competitive at that rental rate. So if you're looking for a house that's about the same as rent or lower than rent, there's going to be like more offers. There's going to be, and it's move-in ready. There's going to be a lot of competition in that area. But if you're looking for something that's above rental rate or whatever, you might get 2 or 3 offers on that house in Atlanta right now. It all just depends on what you're looking for. So as long as inventory is low and interest rates are low, and interest rates have gone down back. They were at the low 3s. Now they're back in the high 2s. So as long as interest rates are low and inventory is low, then it's probably going to stay like this. So you need to be able to strategize and see what you're going to do. But I think this is going to be the most educated pool of first-time home buyers ever, like really. All right, I'm looking through the list. If I co-signed on a home loan a couple of years ago, how would that weigh on me buying a home now? If you can prove that you're a non-owner occupant of that home, and the lender may ask for proof that that other person has made the payments by themselves for the last 12 months or so, you should be able to get a house on your own. So I would contact the lender. And this is for Jamisha Petty. It says, if I co-signed on a home loan a couple of years ago, how would that weigh on me buying a home now? You should still be able to buy as a non-owner occupant of that other home, but you may have to prove that you haven't contributed to any of the payments of that other house in order to get the approval. But I would check with your lender just to make sure. If it is counting against you heavily, then they may have to they may have to refinance that house and get your name off of that mortgage. All right. All righty. Okay, it's over an hour. So I'm looking through and seeing if I'm gonna try to focus on that home affordability thing. If people, I don't think there's an age to be on a deed. And I know this because I was a high school teacher, and they put one of my students when they were just a teenager on a deed. So I don't think, I would just Google that for your state, but I don't think there's an age to be on a deed, to be honest with you, because she was a teenager, knew nothing about it. Her parent had put her, it was kind of a sad situation because the parent had put her on the deed and then didn't pay for the HOA fees or something like that, and she still owned the property. It was a mess. So she had to get a lawyer involved in a house that she had no idea that, because when you're put on a deed, the owner puts you on the deed. So you don't have to, you don't have to necessarily approve them putting you on the deed, at least in Georgia. So I don't think there's an age limit for it. All right, I'm still looking. All right, I'm going through now. I'm gonna go to the bottom. But thank you all for joining me today. NACA versus VA, NACA is not a home loan. Let me say that. There's 4 home loans. VA, USDA, FHA, and conventional. Conventional, FHA, USDA, and I've lost count, VA, USDA, FHA, and conventional. Those are the 4 loans. NACA is a housing program, and you're going to get a conventional loan through Bank of America with NACA. So if you're thinking about doing NACA and going through that program, the loan that you're actually going to get is going to be conventional, and it's going to be through Bank of America. All right. I'm working very hard on like a referral list of agents that are really good with first-time home buyers, Barbie. She just asked, do I have referrals? And I get asked this a lot. I get a lot of emails. So I'm working on getting a group of agents together that I would trust to refer to first-time home buyers. All right, let me see. Nini G, hello. I called my credit union and I was asking. I've been working 2 jobs for 2 years, and they told me they could only use one of them as income. I would probably guess that one of them is maybe a 1099 job. Are they both W-2 jobs that you're working, or is one part-time and one full-time? So it really depends on what the jobs are that, they're going to say that you've been working DoorDash and you're a substitute teacher. They're going to want to see 2 years of consistent income from both of those places. And they want to see that if you're doing something like that gives you a 1099, like a DoorDash or Uber or something like that, they're going to want to see that on your tax return for the last 2 years as income. So you just have to make sure. Nini G said they're both full-time and W-2. I would get another quote from another lender. If they're both full-time jobs and you've been working them for 2 years and they're both W-2 jobs, you probably need to go to another lender, because I don't see why they wouldn't take both of them. But good question. All righty. I think I'm gonna get out. All right, so it's been about an hour. Again, thank you. I know I don't do lives very often, but I really appreciate your support of my channel. Please go back and watch some of my videos. If you go to the video link, it'll have like all the videos on there and what the subjects are, because there's probably a video out for your question. I'm gonna answer this one question. What has been the most challenging aspect of this market for you as an agent? It has really been the buyers that are lower than the average price, which the average price in Atlanta used to be around 200 or so thousand, and it's gone up to maybe 300,000. It has been not being able to find them a house, or not being able to easily find them a house, having them have to pay above their appraised value to just get their offer approved. So that's been the most challenging. Instead of in the past, you might make, 2 or 3 offers. Now you have to make 10 offers to get one approved. So it really has been a challenge. So if you just know that, so when you're working with your agent and they're doing all that they can to get your offer approved, I think there's a lot of distrust between first-time home buyers and real estate agents. They're really trying to do what they can do, to try to get your offer approved because they know what the market is. I did a video, I think, before about the 7 things you need to ask your buyer's agent, so that you are just as educated as them on how the market is right now. Because a lot of the frustration, if you have some frustration with your agent, a lot of times on your side is because you don't understand how the market is. Like, you're still trying to bid under, you're still asking for closing costs, you're still doing things that are making it more difficult for you to get your offer approved. And on the buyer's agent side, we need to do a better job explaining to the buyers how the market is, because the market in Atlanta is not going to be like the market in Texas or California or New York. So up front, if you're any agents listening on here, you have to do a better job of explaining what the market is ahead of time before you take a buyer on as a client. And that's what I've been doing. I do Zoom buyer consult calls, and I didn't do those in the past, to explain to them specifically any challenges that I foresee based on how much money they have, if they're trying to use down payment assistance, if the area that they want to move in is a lot higher than what their pre-approval amount is. Because everybody wants, a move-in ready home in a great school system, but if you only have you're qualified for 150,000, that's not possible in Atlanta right now. So you have to really kind of have those conversations with buyers right now to know, okay, based on where you are financially, this is what you're able to do. And until the market changes, you may not be able to qualify for something for your dream home right now. And people have to modify their dreams. They thought, because now you thought you can do this, but now the bar has been raised a lot higher than where it was even a year ago, which is unfortunate. But we all had to, this has been a crazy year, and we've all had to adjust as much as possible. So thank you again so much for supporting my channel. I should have a new video tomorrow and Saturday. Y'all have a good night.